years of Swiss Youth Hostels. One of the oldest and largest accommodation organizations in Switzerland has every reason to celebrate. 90 years of holidays in the most beautiful parts of Switzerland for young people, families and individuals from all over the world on a smaller holiday budget. Swiss Youth Hostels will also remain faithful to this principle in future. It's essentially about people. The people who use youth hostels and the ones who work in youth hostels. This ensures a very special atmosphere in a society in which it's no longer the norm for strangers to sit around a table together and chat. For different cultures to live under one roof. The Rüblihoorn, a typical youth hostel of past decades. The chalet in the Bernese Oberland is symbolic of 90 years of Swiss youth hostels. Budget-friendly accommodation for the young and the young at heart, for families and groups. The building has seen better days and no longer meets current needs. It's not worth renovating. Instead, it will be knocked down and rebuilt.
Long-standing guests told us they think it's a pity that the building will disappear, but it will also make space for something new.
To remain successful, old structures must be reconsidered and values must be adapted. As an organization, Swiss Youth Hostels set potentially pioneering trends for the entire Swiss economy. In architecture and construction, as part of the Swiss tourist industry, with more than 6,400 beds as one of the largest accommodation providers in Switzerland. Here in Gstaad-Saanenland, the new youth hostel is emerging from the dust and debris. The location is perfect.
It's just a fun environment to stay in.
Six months later, the first 3 stories are built. In total, it will take just over a year from demolition to opening, an ambitious schedule stipulated by Swiss Youth Hostels.
The
Swiss Youth Hostels know exactly what they want. They have a clear vision. All aspects of sustainable construction are important. It was important, for example, that the building costs were affordable. This was a challenge for us, since affordable does not mean cheap. It means doing the right thing. I find this emphasis on functional quality very exciting. The principle for the new youth hostel is, as always, the Swiss Foundation for Social Tourism. Sustainability is a high priority, starting with construction. The most important mechanisms for sustainability are put in place during construction. This applies to all 3 aspects of sustainability. The environmental aspect covers grey energy and the big quantity of material that's used in the building. We are now deciding how much energy the hostel will ultimately need. In terms of the economic aspect, it's a question of cost-effective construction, so that the hostel can pay its way. With regard to the social aspect, we are, for example, currently determining whether the building will have barrier-free access. Swiss Youth Hostels have been a trendsetter in Swiss architecture for a number of years now. For example, the youth hostel in Interlaken was the first accommodation provider in Switzerland to be built in accordance with a stringent MINAGP eco standard. Freddy Gmür is convinced that this is an investment that will pay off. It's certainly more expensive if you consider just the investment costs. But if we add in the maintenance and operating costs, it's highly competitive in the long term. The new hostel in Squol in the Lower Engadine was built in 2007 and embraces elements of traditional local construction. For its successful execution, this youth hostel received the award for marketing and architecture. Traditional local buildings are clearly recognizable here, with their stone facade and deep windowsills. Combined with flush-mounted windows that resemble oriels, the overall appearance is a superb interpretation of the Engadine tradition. Self-evident, confident, a powerful symbol for Squall. Zurich has one of the largest youth hostels. The building dates back to the 1960s. In 2004, it was completely renovated and received an award for the careful reconstruction. At first glance, the changes are not visible. The original concept was simply developed. Original materials such as concrete, wood and stone were used. If you look more closely, you will see that certain ceilings, furnishings and lighting are more recent. Everything blends in harmoniously into the original building. The youth hostel looks like it's been there, unchanged, for 50 years. Saas-Fee represents new territory for Swiss Youth Hostels. The village in the canton of Valais is a new destination. Such prestigious locations are the flagships in the network of Swiss Youth Hostels. Saas-Fee will be home to the first 5-story timber-built accommodation in Switzerland. I am proud that we had the opportunity, together with the principal and our partners, to plan the first 5-story timber-built accommodation. The big challenge with this kind of building is the great precision that's required. In contrast to conventional construction, where certain things are only decided on the construction site, here everything must be specified when production begins. On the other hand, work progresses rapidly on the construction site. The prefabricated elements just need to be put together. The environmental aspects of timber construction are clearly an advantage. You can prefabricate sections of the building indoors, irrespective of temperature or weather. The assembly time is short, in this case 3 weeks. The disadvantage is that timber constructions are 5 to 10% more expensive than conventional concrete and brick buildings. After 17 months of construction, the new hostel is opening its doors to guests. The timber building has proved its worth from day one. Both the public and private spaces have a functional design. The large solar panels on the roof provide the hostel with heat and electricity. Swiss youth hostels play an increasingly important role in Swiss tourism. In Saas-Fee, a public-private partnership was established with the Saas-Fee municipality. This paved the way for the first hostel with its own spa and gym facilities. Thanks to this partnership, we've created a world first. We can guarantee a range of services to the municipality, the schools and other guests that may not have existed were it not for this partnership. Athletes and younger guests enjoy themselves in the adjacent indoor swimming pool. The new accommodation facilities are expected to attract an additional 32,000 overnight stays each year to the mountain village. The Wellness Hostel 4000, a win-win for everyone. Firstly, we were able to renovate and reinvigorate the existing swimming pool. Secondly, we can provide local people and holidaymakers with a state-of-the-art spa facility. Thirdly, the new modern hostel provides us with 168 new, actively managed beds in one fell swoop. This is something we welcome in these times, and it brings a whole new international clientele to Saas-Fee. The youth hostel in Interlaken offers another opportunity for extended usage. The 3A restaurant is also open to non-residential guests. We try to apply our vision to expanding services in this way. Our values, our mission and sustainability, which is a top priority.
Nachhaltige Gedanken, die für uns ganz klar oberste Priorität haben. Und dann mit diesen Angeboten.
We want to use this wider range of services to create synergies and to establish win-win situations for the public sector, for our guests and for other people who can use the facilities.
Für Gäste, für andere Gäste, die dann unser Zusatzangebot nutzen können.
A good cooperation with the destination is important. In Squall, for example, local establishments see the new hostel as an asset rather than as competition. As the youth hostel attracts new kinds of guests, it's not a competitor, but rather an addition. Youth hostel guests want to experience something. They go to the mountains, they use the Bad Squall, they hike, they cycle, and they use our services. This is attractive for the youth hostel, but also for all the other businesses and guests. The new Gstaad Sonnenland Youth Hostel is gradually taking form. It will accommodate more than twice the number of guests compared to the old Rüblihorn. Even Gstaad, the holiday destination of the international jet set, wants to benefit from the soon-to-be-opened youth hostel.
We
put our heads together to see how we could cooperate at a marketing and promotional level. As a destination here in Gstaad Sonnenland, we want to work with the Swiss Youth Hostels because they are part of an international network, and we are currently promoting new markets. That's an ideal basis for a good partnership. More than half of the youth hostel guests are Swiss. As traditionally affordable sources of accommodation, however, they are also attracting many guests from surrounding countries, and increasingly more from Asia.
It's cheap and I made a new friend.
In total, the 53 Swiss youth hostels offer more than 6,400 beds. In 2013, this amounted to just under 1 million overnight stays. No other accommodation provider in Switzerland can match this. The Swiss youth hostels have understood the need to constantly modernize and adapt to the changed requirements of young guests and families. In the past, people were just looking for a place to sleep. Today, they also want an experience. Design and infrastructural requirements have changed. The Swiss youth hostels are always one step ahead, and that's why they're still so fresh and young, even after 90 years. That's their key to success. Swiss Youth Hostel members who benefit from discounts number 100,000 in Switzerland alone. Since 2013, the Swiss Youth Hostels have also been a member of the Swiss Hotel Association, and all hostels are categorized as Swiss lodges. 90 years. Only very few companies managed to reach this milestone. In 1924, the Zurich Youth Hostel Establishment Cooperative was set up. The first overnight accommodation facilities became available in the same year. In the early 1940s, more than 200 hostels in the country belonged to the Swiss Youth Hostels organization. After 50 years, the property and asset management side was spun off to the Swiss Foundation for Social Tourism and separated from the operational side of the Swiss Youth Hostels. In 1992, the individual district associations merged to form the Swiss Youth Hostels Association. Shortly after, the association's headquarters in Zurich opened. Success began with the merging of the districts. The development of a location strategy resulted in synergies. Some individual hostels fell victim to the strategy. Others were renovated and new hostels were built. We're also lucky in that we've had the same management team since 1996, both in the association and the foundation. They work together very well. The executive board and the board of trustees also pull together. It's widely the same people everywhere. These are the most important pillars in the success story. Under the new management, the youth hostels are changing from strict youth hostel managers to hosts. The woolen blankets in the dormitories have been replaced by Nordic duvets, mainly in rooms with 2 to 8 beds. The new strategy works.
Es ist eigentlich eine Trilogie. Es ist der Grundgedanke,
It's really a trilogy.
einen teilgeschützten Bereich zur Verfügung stellt.
We provide young people with a safe space where they can enjoy cultural experiences with people from their own country and from around the world. In this way, we ultimately promote conflict prevention.
An und für sich, dass kein einziger Franken, wo in der Organisation...
Secondly, not a single franc that is earned within the organization goes outside of it. We retain or renew the structures or reduce the price. The third strand is sustainability. It's important for the organization to leave the smallest possible ecological footprint. We have been promoting this for years, in our buildings and in the whole organization.
In den Bauten, in den Umbauten, aber auch im Betrieb fördern.
Take, for example, environmental sustainability. This begins with the construction of the youth hostels, but continues right through the entire operational aspect. The Swiss Youth Hostels have received a number of awards for their efforts in environmental management and their pioneering role in tourism.
For example, we defined a specific standard concerning breakfast and increasingly use regional or fair trade products.
Es gibt in den Betrieben auch ökologische...
In our hostels, we explain to guests how to separate waste and how to save energy and water.
wo wir den Gast aktiv darauf aufmerksam machen, Energie und Wasser sparen. Das sind
Aspects which are all clearly visible.
machen in den Betrieben.
I've just received positive feedback about our use of sustainable products in the breakfast buffet. It's very well received. Social sustainability can best be seen in the low prices and the easy encounters between guests. Large tables that encourage conversations, or playrooms where children and young people can mingle regardless of language barriers.
It's almost like home.
In accordance with the association's mission, the focus is on 3 aspects of social sustainability.
Das sind einerseits natürlich Gäste.
The first is our guests. One of our objectives is to make sure that our prices allow a wide range of people to travel.
Dann sind es aber auch unsere Mitarbeiter.
The second is our employees. We want to offer them secure jobs, a secure pension, and opportunities for further training and education.
Möglichkeiten. Und als drittes geht es sicher auch um unsere Partner.
The third is our partners. We want to work with fair partners. We have criteria with which to ensure that our partners deal fairly with their partners. One example is fair trade products, which we use in all our hostels.
Produkte, die wir überall einsetzen.
Last but not least, economic sustainability is a consideration. The non-profit organization is financially secure. 2013 saw an increase in turnover and overnight stays. This trend is expected to continue. The new hostels in Sassfe and Gstaad Sannenland, together with other projects, shall ensure this.
Following major investments of more than 23 million Swiss francs in 2013 and 2014, will certainly not continue at this pace. We are still working on a number of other projects, such as renovating and expanding the Bern Youth Hostel or setting up a second location in Geneva.
The new youth hostel in Gstaad Sannenland was completed on schedule. The bend in the wooden facade and the overhanging roof make for a striking appearance. It's a traditional building because you have to respect tradition here. This region has been protected in this way for decades and uniformity has been maintained. At the same time, it's also a very modern building. I really like it and I like the location. Consideration was given to young people and families when building it. It embodies everything youth hostels stand for these days, namely that they are for every age and every budget. The new youth hostel has double rooms and family rooms, but also the traditional multi-bedrooms. The new actively managed beds are an asset to the Gstaad Sannenland region. It fits in very well in Sannenland and complements the region, which has mostly 4- and 5-star hotels, but it also offers accommodation under 500 francs. People are delighted about the new beds and the new hostel. It appeals to people who we hope will later return and visit other hotels and restaurants. In this way, we can develop new markets.
Sehr wichtig, für neue Märkte zu schließen.
The new youth hostel is expected to generate 25,000 overnight stays each year and thus continue the success story of 90 years of Swiss Youth Hostels.
Das Jubiläum an und für sich, da haben wir primär
First and foremost, in this anniversary year, we wanted to give our guests a present. New buildings in Gstaad-Sonnenland and Saas-Fee, and 2 freshly renovated hostels. This is our anniversary present. To sum up 90 years of Swiss Youth Hostels, we have inherited a legacy from our predecessors, which we tried to adapt to the future, in a way that it can be passed on to the next generation.
Dass es auch nachhaltig an der nächsten Generation weitergegeben werden.
A successful start to a new decade.
It's just great.